Welcome back to the Better Late Than Never Club. I'm Bec.
And I'm Frost.
And tonight we are watching Flightplan.
Which sounds like it could be a really, really boring film just about like pilots planning on where to go.
Could be. I don't think it is.
I've never heard of this film.
I hadn't either until one of our patrons suggested it or requested it.
We've been doing this for about 38 weeks now. And we've done, what, how many episodes? Like 26 episodes in season 1?
Plus this TV special.
And a few other bits and bobs. So I figure it's time that we've gotten to a good rhythm here. We're very rarely tweaking any of the settings. So maybe we call this season 2. You know, we finally found our stride.
Yeah. I mean, look, it seems like the right time. And then we can, in 10 years' time, we can look back and be like, that was season 1, back before we knew anything.
And it's season 10 and Frosty still doesn't know any of the actors.
Yeah, no, I think this is a good way to kick off season 2.
Well, what can you tell me about this film? Hang on. I want to guess. Is it from the 90s?
No.
Ooh.
Would you like to continue guessing?
No, we could be here for a very long time.
It's from 2005.
Okay.
And it is a mystery psychological thriller.
Ooh, I love those.
Yeah, that's a good combination of genres.
That hits
I like
strongly
all three
for
of those
us,
things.
for sure.
It is featuring the one and only Jodie Foster.
Oh, yeah. I definitely know who that is.
You do? I'm suspicious that you don't.
The name rings a bell.
Well, I know that hang on, let me start that sentence again. I realized when I was looking this up that I actually have only seen Jodie Foster in one movie. I feel like I've seen her in more movies, but we've both seen her in at least one, which is Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, yeah,
She is the journalist, reporter lady. Is she a reporter or is she a doctor? I don't know. I can't remember that movie anymore. Either way, she is that.
So is she the main character?
Yeah.
She's an FBI agent.
Oh, yeah. She's Clarice.
Yeah. I'm sure I've seen Jodie Foster in other things.
Well, the movies that I was looking through and that I want to see her in is Taxi Driver.
Haven't seen it.
She was young, I think, in that. And then Nell is another one, which is actually also on our list of recommendations to watch.
Doesn't ring a bell.
And then Inside Man is another one.
I can picture the title for that.
Yeah.
Like the poster.
Do you want me to Google Jodie Foster to show you?
No, I know what she looks like because I know the Silence of the Lambs. Well, sorry. I know what Jodie Foster looked like in 1989 when Silence of the Lambs was made.
Right.
Whenever that film was made.
Yeah.
So I don't know what she looks like in 2005, but
sure.
I'm sure I will recognize when she comes on screen. I'm not sure about that at all.
There's another movie that I would like to see of hers, which is Panic Room.
I've seen Panic Room.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, I would like to see that.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So, yeah, Jodie Foster, somehow I've only seen her in Silence of the Lambs, but I do think she's a good actress from that one experience.
Yeah. So
I'm excited to see her in another leading role. Other facts about this movie. It was a pretty good box office success, It came out the same year. There was 2 movies that had kind of a lot of crossover plot-wise that came out the same year. I think the other one was called Red Eye. They were both plane-based films.
Also haven't seen it. I was half expecting you to say all of this tongue-in-cheek. It was actually snakes on a plane.
No. But yeah, it came out also in 2005, and that had Rachel McAdams in it. So
we do love ourselves.
It's also in a psychological thriller, just to be clear. Like there was a lot of crossover.
So snakes on a plane.
Let's talk director, because there's really nothing else to be said because neither of us know anything about this movie other than it involves a plane. I do know that.
I mean, you'd hope so. With Flightplan being the name of the film.
Our director is Robert Schwentke. He's German. It's like Schwentke. I don't know. Pronunciation, please forgive me. His directorial history that I'm familiar with is The Time Traveler's Wife.
Well, that's a good one.
I haven't seen it.
Neither have I, but I've heard good things.
That's a good one, he says. Red, or the R-E-D.
No way.
Movie?
Wait, no, I'm thinking of Wreck. Never mind.
Yeah, that's a horror movie.
Yeah.
This is...
Retired, Extremely Dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Bruce Willis was in that. That was all right.
Yeah. And the other one I wrote down was the Divergent movies, the second and third Divergent movies.
Have we seen those?
No.
I don't think so.
I did not see those. I was a Hunger Games girly, not a Divergent girly.
Yeah, I think we read the first book.
We met like the first 1.5 and then kind of fell off, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's what we've got director-wise. Not like, you know, some recognizable names, nothing, I guess, surprising.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, just they're kind of all over the shop in terms of genre.
Yeah.
You've kind of got that young adult dystopian. You've got Time Traveler's Wife, which is like
bit more
romance
piece,
/ I don't know. And then this is very psychological.
And then Red, which is just straight up action.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I feel like this, I don't know, that could speak to a good thing, you know, good breadth of skill, or he can't find the genre that works for him. I don't know. I'm just joking.
I mean, look, this came in as a recommendation, so I'm sure it is someone's enjoyed film.
Of course.
So, you know.
I'm keen. I mean, the thing I'm most excited for is that this is my type of genre.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm looking for not a feel-good movie, but like something that's going to be not so much feel-good, but I don't know. When you want to feel something, I don't know what I'm saying. I need you to cut all this out.
I think it's more like when I am looking for a movie that is going to like be interesting and engaging.
Gripping.
These are the kinds of movies
I wish to be gripped.
Yeah, I wish to be held, gently held by a thrilling and psychologically maybe slightly traumatic film.
Right, exactly. And mystery is always fun because it's like
I want to live on the edge of my seat, but I don't actually want to leave my seat.
No, and run in fear.
Yeah.
Well, that's about it then. Short intro, relatively. I feel like we've yammered on long enough.
Yeah. Press play.
Let's jump into Flightplan.
First, we meet recently widowed Kyle Pratt, who is preparing to journey home to America from Berlin with her daughter Julia and the body of her late husband. After the plane has taken off, Kyle falls asleep a few seats away from Julia. Upon waking, she finds her daughter missing, along with her backpack and boarding pass. No one on the plane seems to remember Julia ever being on board, and Kyle begins to panic as no evidence of her daughter can be found. The captain reluctantly agrees to search the plane. The search ends when a phone call from Berlin states that Julia was in fact killed alongside her father. Kyle's panic increases, and she is restrained by the Sky Marshal Carson. Unconvinced that her daughter is dead, Kyle escapes from custody and breaks into the plane's crawl space, causing havoc in the cabin. Kyle makes her way to the cargo hold, finding her husband's casket but no sign of Julia. Carson finds and detains her once more, but there's a twist. Carson returns to the casket and retrieves explosives. He is framing her as a hijacker and has indeed kidnapped young Julia. The plane eventually lands, as all are convinced Kyle is a hijacker. Now alone together on the plane, the two play cat and mouse as Kyle searches for Julia. Ultimately, she finds and rescues her daughter, and Carson falls victim to his own explosive plans. Here's some deeper thoughts on the matter.
My heart is racing.
I mean, that's what you want from a mystery psychological thriller, my love.
It did a really good job of the mystery and the psychological thriller.
No, that was definitely really good mystery. The kind of mystery where you aren't 100% sure what is happening for most of the movie.
Like, is she the bad guy? Who's the bad guy? Someone's the bad guy. Or is no one the bad guy and it's actually all just a really sad story about delusion?
Yeah, and grief.
I was definitely like holding my breath for a lot of it.
Yeah, I feel that.
Because it was pretty tense, right? Like all these people thinking that there's a crazy lady on board. Me thinking that there's a crazy lady. Honestly, a very good alternative name for this film could have been the Gaslight. Just about.
Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. Yeah, no, Jodie Foster, great job.
Yeah, fantastic.
Really good job.
I said about halfway through, she did an excellent job of just nailing the edge of panicky, but keeping it together barely.
Well, because you have to try and keep it together to be taken seriously.
Yeah. Because as soon as you go like a little bit hysterical because, of panic, people will be like, oh, you're just crazy from grief or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's a really good movie about like human nature and the way like groupthink works, the way like all the passengers banded up against her or like the other passengers that she was accusing. Yeah. All of that. And just really, I mean, honestly though, aside from the clearly racist passengers, there was, I think, not much to be blamed. You can't really blame them. No. She did seem crazy.
And she, like, a lot of things happened on the flight that would definitely scare people. Like,
right.
Nobody wants the oxygen masks come down or the lights to go off. It's like crazy.
So understandable why the world was sort of against her.
Yeah. And what gets me right is what's the conversation that the air marshal and the air stewardess, who Carsten, I don't even get the air stewardess's name.
No, neither did I.
What is the conversation they're having where they're like, okay, so here's the plot. This new big plane is going to go up in the air and we need to have a credible hijacking threat to transfer 50 million. And there's going to be 3 people involved. There's going to be the morgue director. Mm-hmm. It's going to be you and it's going to be me. And there's no one else involved because the more people get involved, the more chances things have to go like wrong or get, the more ways the money has to be split, right? So the morgue director, maybe he's getting a $10 million cut.
Because he only has to lie and forge some paperwork.
And the air hostess, she's getting a $15 million cut and he's taking the rest. He's taking the $25 million because he's bought the C4. He's taking a lot of the risk. He's got
He's planting it. Yeah.
So it's like, to get it to a point where they have to open the coffin and get her to check the coffin to see that her daughter is missing.
That's such a leap to assume that she is going to be able to do that.
Well, I think it might be even if they convince her that her daughter has died and that is being shipped in the same coffin, he'll be like, let's go down and have a look. Do you know what I mean? There's a few different ways to get her to open the coffin, to check it, to search it. But then
even just, because she has to give him the code. That's the thing.
Yeah, and it wasn't like an easy guessable pin digit. It was like a 12-digit code. She entered for like a long time entering that code. So it's like, it's such a flimsy plan that hinges on, we're going to kidnap this girl. We're going to hide her in avionics because nobody needs to go down there. We're then going to get the explosives from the hold in the non-X-rayed coffin and also put those in avionics so to quote-unquote vaporize the proof that there was a child.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure that's really how that works. I'm pretty sure forensics would be like, this plane...
Maybe not 2005 forensics. I don't know, dude.
2005 is pretty recent.
This movie's it's a really good plot.
Yeah.
But I will say that it does hinge on a very specific set of circumstances, especially for the characters like the main, like Jodie Foster and her family, because like the bad guy, Carson explains, it required a death, so the death of the husband to incur the coffin.
Yeah.
And then it required Jodie Foster's character to know the plane. Right.
I think part of what screwed him up is she knew the plan better than he thought. And she was more determined than he bargained for.
Yeah. And she's got that mother's determination, right?
Because, I guess, the way maybe he saw it happening was that she gets a bit hysterical, and when they report it, it's like, she credibly had knowledge of the plane, of where to hide the explosives and stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
But she's dead, so they'll never get a story out of her. Where in actual fact, she had great knowledge of all of the compartments in the plane, despite only being a propulsions engineer.
One thing that I feel like, I guess this is... I assume the plan was that they would get the money and then go away. And even if their plan was proven that they were at fault, because I feel like eventually someone would figure out that this little girl didn't die in Berlin.
Right, yeah.
Like the grandparents would be like, okay, where's her body?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's not, even if they do destroy her body, that it still doesn't
There's no death certificate.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the implication. The implication is that her death had been fabricated in...
Yeah, but I feel like there's still probably people that are like, we never got told that.
Honestly, it's the morgue director who I think is... Like, he probably should have never said yes, because he's like, wait, so you want me to sign a death certificate with no body? That's not going to stand at all. You also want me to slip explosives into this coffin?
Yeah.
Like, hang on a minute. What's going on?
Yeah. No, I mean, gosh, what a horribly stressful time. It's funny, like, when you think about it, all of the other passengers are trying to convince her, like, well, don't stress out about your missing child because she can't have gone far.
Yeah.
But in the same vein, I feel like a plane is not a nice place to be lost in.
Well, it's sort of like, yeah, she can't have gone far, which means if we can't see her now, she could be in distress.
Right, exactly.
Right. It's like, yeah, she kind of gone far, but what if she's like slipped into a crack or something, like was open that wasn't meant to be open, and she's fallen somewhere that humans are not meant to go.
I mean, but then I guess, they did take it seriously to the point where they then started to come up against evidence that she didn't exist.
Yeah.
Which is fair. I can imagine that. You know who's really at fault? The girl on the plane door.
Yeah.
who wasn't, I thought she was in on the conspiracy because she made the most sense to me because I'm like, well, yeah, you want the person on the door to say she didn't see her.
Yeah.
But then, hello? You should be paying attention.
Yeah.
Also, I kind of get it, the fact that all of the passengers were like, we didn't see her, but I feel like some of the other passengers should have seen her.
Well, I mean, they made a big... I'm not too fussed about that, right? Because they made a big song and dance about how she wanted to be hid and how she... And when other people started to come aboard the plane, she like crawled down into the footwell of her chair.
But then they moved seats.
Yeah.
Which meant they had to walk down the aisle a bit.
Right.
I don't know. I get it. It's not like a big deal. It's just, it's something that I feel like I'm a very perceptive person.
Row 25 was made... We would have ruined Carson's plan.
Yeah.
We would have been like,
we would have been like, no, there was definitely a child.
Yeah, because we know, because we're looking at a row 25 and they're obnoxious children, and then we saw that row 26 had a not obnoxious child,
nice
and we
child.
said, gee, wouldn't it be nice if they were all like that?
Yeah. We would just be like, our judgmentalness really would have tied this movie up.
And Carson's like, oh, but how many drugs have you been taking, sir? And I'm like 50 whiskeys in, so...
That would have undone us.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I really did enjoy the dynamic between Sean Bean and Jodie Foster.
Yeah, yeah.
I will not be using any character names because they are Sean Bean and Jodie Foster to me forever and ever. Anyway.
He's the captain. I don't think he gets a name.
He did a really good job of being... He is this... huge authority figure, right?
Yeah, he's got a lot
even
of
at the end of the
responsibility.
movie, he has this like moment where he like tells the FBI to back off because he's a captain or a pilot. He will not be told that, So he has this like great authoritative presence and then very like level-headed for the most part as much as he can.
Yeah.
And he's obviously quite empathetic because he lets quite a bit of searching happen before kind of calling it quits.
Yeah.
When he gets told that the child is actually dead, which is fair. A good time to call it then.
Right.
Because then it does bleed into this, she's just psychotic with grief, essentially.
Yeah.
You know.
And a very, very plausible, like so much of this plan of like, let's make somebody appear psychotic with grief, because it's like you're one step away from completely and understandably, like nobody would question twice, like, oh, this woman just lost her husband and her daughter and she's having a psychotic episode. Well, I kind of get that. You know, like I'm spilling my coffee away from having a psychotic episode at work.
Oh my God.
Life's hard, man. Life's hard. So I can imagine like a lot of people will be sympathetic to that.
Yeah. I'm honestly, the twist that I didn't necessarily see coming was that her husband's death was part of it also.
Yeah.
Like I expected it to be more of a kind of opportunistic...
I mean, but it needed to be so meticulously planned because they needed...
Well, that's what I know. I didn't realize there's crazy levels of planning involved.
Well, it even gets more specific, right? Because not only did they need somebody with specific plane knowledge, they needed somebody who would take the body on a coffin on a plane.
Yeah.
So it couldn't just been somebody who lived in Germany. It's going to bury him in a local cemetery.
Right. They also need someone who had a child.
That could... Like, it's such a specific... target you're looking for.
It's so specific. That's why it's like, it's unlike other scary... I'm not saying this movie was necessarily scary. It was thrilling, right?
Yeah.
But unlike other movies where you're like, oh my gosh, this could happen to me. Like Taken.
Right.
For example, Taken...
Being trafficked.
Yeah, it could happen to me.
Right.
Right. Unlikely because I don't leave the house, but it could happen to me. But this movie, I'm like, well, thank God I don't know anything about planes or have a child.
Yeah. And I don't know anything about planes, so, you know, and no one's got any leverage over me. So.
I wonder if, like, they also seem to implicate that, or insinuate that her husband was maybe depressed. And so I don't know if that was part of her just convincing herself that he might have jumped.
Or she's just saying the things she needs to say to the therapist to get her to stop bothering her.
Well, I think she genuinely seemed to be vibing with the therapist until she saw the heart on the window and was like, I need to get this lady out of here because I need to go find my daughter who definitely exists and is on this plane right now.
Yeah.
That was a good moment. I liked that moment where you can see her go like, okay, damn, this is for real.
I am being gas capital L lit.
There was two moments like that. The first one was the heart in the window where you can see that she goes like full sicko mode and it's like, I am going to find my daughter.
Yeah.
And then that's a good thing, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know that.
Sorry, say that again.
I'm regretting my use of the term sicko mode.
Full sicko.
Well, because sicko isn't, not like sicko, like a bad guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, never mind. I'm trying to connect to the youth. Anyway, the other moment is when Carson is getting off the plane.
Yeah.
and she realizes that she has to play into this delusion or this lie in order to get him back on the plane.
Yeah, manipulate
I thought
him.
that was really good.
Yeah.
Like, this character, Jodie, I mean, she is an aero engineer.
Yeah.
So she's obviously super smart, but that comes through in a lot of her, quick thinking.
It was riveting. Carson's plan was like what I would never use the words rock solid to describe this plan. It was a miracle he nearly pulled it off.
I know.
Like, he was this close to pulling off an absolute miracle of a heist that should have failed on so many different fronts, so many times.
Yeah, I mean, it would fail these days because of cameras. Surely they would be able to check cameras at the terminal.
There'd be digital boarding pass as well. Like, they'd be like, the manifest. The implication is that he somehow removed her from the manifest as well.
Well, no, the flight attendant probably did that.
Yeah.
I assume. I don't know how these things work. I don't know who has access to these things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of assuming we have to do about who has access and who can manipulate what kind of information, but it's not without
It is
reason.
also a movie, right? Like
Right. It is fictional, yes.
So I think I saw a thing a little while ago that like there was that's right. It was like the 20th anniversary of Armageddon, which is if you don't know it, it's that film where an asteroid's coming toward Earth and NASA sends up a bunch of oil drillers to place several nukes on the asteroid to blow it up.
I've heard the term you can teach an astronaut to be an oil driller, but not an oil driller to be an astronaut or something like
it's the
that.
other end. You can teach an oil driller to be an astronaut, but you can't teach an astronaut to be an oil driller. It's very stupid. That's why. That's why it's a thing.
Worrying.
Because like honestly, the premise of the film is great, but I digressing. Where I'm going with this is that there have actually been theses, several thesi done on how inaccurate this film was in terms of like, the big rock in space, nukes, all that stuff.
Right.
And it's like, I wonder, watching the film, it's a perfectly enjoyable action film. Like Flightplan, I just wonder how many inaccuracies that, because we're not familiar with planes, I wonder how many inaccuracies, like the manifest, like the
or like
avionics
the structure of a plane,
right?
Even
exactly,
like her ability to, I do wonder because this movie, 4 years after 9/11?
Yeah,
it's almost. I'm surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if there were intentional inaccuracies to avoid people knowing too much about planes.
Yeah.
Like, because you could be like, I studied Flightplan every night for a year to learn how to get from
avionics to the cockpit.
Yeah.
Because like the implication is, right, that there's the cockpit door, which is like quite sturdy and also bulletproof. Mm-hmm. But then there's just like a little hatch in the side attached roof, which can connect to the toilets.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
right. Which that seems like information you don't want to be just given out.
Yeah. Well, it also seems like just bad design.
Bad design, yeah. Anyway, so that would be an interesting thing to look up how accurate that is.
Hang on. Can we actually just quickly on the phone Wikipedia flight plan inaccuracies? Because I don't know. I genuinely don't know whether it's.
It wouldn't bother me, by the way, if there were.
No. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's interesting to know. Just like in Armageddon, there's like something like 238 inaccuracies, some rather bad. I do wonder whether this film has like a similar, cult following of people hating on it because of its inaccuracies.
I'm not saying immediately a list of inaccuracies.
There's not flightplaninaccuracies.com.
Well, there is a goofs section on IMDb.
Oh, yeah.
There's only one factual error that I can see, which is that there's FBI agents when they land, and they land in Canada.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's just a few continuity errors.
Oh, really?
Oh, no, I found more factual errors.
Here we go.
The avionics computers shown in the film appear to be an array of Cray supercomputers in the circular configuration typically seen in a supercomputer lab. In reality, avionics computers are small, ruggedized, embedded systems. That's not very interesting.
I mean, the
computers don't look right.
They had this big avionics room, and I'm just like, that's such a waste of space on an airplane.
Yeah.
Like, they obviously needed it to be that layout for the plot to work. So, this plane company's like, all right, we're gonna smash a bunch of passengers in this double-decker, 10-seater wide monstrous deck. as much as we can fit in. But then we're just going to have this massive cavity at the front of the ship.
Well, this takes me on to my next factual error. The production designers did a rather poor job with the design of the fictional aeroplane. Besides the large amount of unproductive empty space already noted, and the mismatch between number of engines and cockpit instrumentation, there are several other glaring mistakes. First, the aircraft fuselage structure is depicted as a tubular metallic design, like buildings on the ground, when in fact all modern commercial aircraft use monocoque structure where the skin is the main strength element. Dear Lord, some airplane nerds got on this IMDb and went off. So it sounds like, there's a lot of the areas that she goes into, that they're large and cavernous, which is not true. In a passenger liner, every square inch has a purpose.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't exist in that way, which is, fair.
Not
very interesting for a movie, though.
Yeah, no, you need room to smuggle a 6-year-old child.
I love that this factual inaccuracy is that when the plane's being de-iced at the beginning, it's obvious the trucks are simply spraying soapy water all over the aeroplane. Real de-icing / anti-icing fluid is applied only to the wing and tail surfaces and would not be wasted on the passenger windows. Furthermore, it's pink, gooey, and very expensive. So funny.
Oh man, that's so great, because that's not even really like a continuity or a factual error. That's just like somebody being upset about the wrong color of fluid being used.
Apparently when the oxygen masks are hanging, the camera jostles to convey turbulence, but the hanging oxygen masks hang stationary and don't move. These aren't okay, we don't usually do this in movies, but it's quite funny to do it in a movie that's based so much in quote-unquote reality, and that an aeroplane is a real thing that a lot of people have been on and kind of vaguely understand the spaces of. Yeah. And
what I find
you don't notice these things.
No, you don't.
Especially unless you're an aeroplane expert, it does not impact the watching experience.
So that last one is a really interesting one, right? Like where all the oxygen masks fall out and then the camera jostles. Because not only is it like, if you did notice that the oxygen masks didn't move sort of bouncing on their little lines like they would in turbulence, it's kind of interesting to note that, well, the oxygen masks dropped down because she made them do it via some sort of electrical short. That wouldn't have caused a judder of any kind. There wouldn't have been turbulence. So there wouldn't have been any shaking. People just would have been like calmly sitting in their seats and the oxygen masks popped down. So the camera shaking is just like pretty funny. It's an extra little effect that adds tension, but in retrospect, in hindsight, it's kind of it's a bit silly.
Yeah, and there's plenty of other people that have written in of plot holes being like, it's just not realistic that she was able to do all of this and not be further detained than she was, or like apparently they do actually X-ray caskets and like things like that. Yeah. So it's but again, it is a movie.
It's fiction.
And again, the whole premise of this family being targeted in this such a highly specific way means that it's kind of easy to, suspend disbelief and just be like...
We're suspending disbelief for that. We'll suspend disbelief for the casket X-ray, and we'll suspend disbelief for the bad plane design. Yeah. The acting was good.
It really was, yeah. Everyone did a bang-up job. Juliet wasn't in it as much as I thought she would be.
I mean, her biggest speaking role was I'm scared.
One thing that I did think was interesting is at the beginning of the movie, obviously Jodie Foster is going through it. She's seeing her dead husband. Yeah. She does have some grief going on. But she's also kind of acting scared or like suspicious. Yeah. And I thought that meant that there was going to be some kind of existing conspiracy that she was afraid of. Yeah. But that didn't end up being the case.
Well, I mean, maybe she on some level knew
that her husband didn't.
Well, she was always like, he fell because he wouldn't have thrown himself off.
Right.
But
maybe
nobody would push him, right? Yeah. So, and then
it leads you a little bit at the beginning to make you think something else is going to happen, and then she is just like, no, my daughter's missing, but she can't explain why, except for the guys that she thinks she saw, which again, we'd have to go back and see.
I mean, she definitely saw two people.
Yeah, but was she just racially profiling those guys?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure that I only got to look at like one of the guys in the window that she saw.
Yeah.
One of them definitely had a beard.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. For me, when somebody says they recognize somebody else, I have to
Don't believe them.
suspend disbelief. Do you know what I mean?
What is this facial recognition of which you speak?
Even in this film where the air hostess runs out and she leaves, right? And we can hear on the radio the choppers being like, "Is that our suspect?" And them going negative on the suspect. I'm like, there's no way they could.
How do you know? Have you taken a DNA? Yeah.
Go to name and dental records.
It was very satisfying to see Jodie Foster succeed so much.
Yeah, what a satisfying outcome.
Yeah.
You could not get a more satisfying outcome if you tried.
No. And like even her getting to hit Carson on the head with the fire extinguisher.
Yep.
I almost wanted her to hit him more. Like knock him out.
Yeah, I mean he got
Got walloped.
Yeah.
But then I guess she needed to knock the lady out too. Because she helped him. The flight attendant that was in on it. That's what kind of got in the way. She arrived.
Yeah, exactly. So she hit him with the thing. And remember, she's not a killer.
And she also didn't know he had a second gun. So that didn't help.
Yeah. Pretty rough.
What is avionics used for?
I assume it's the computers used to control like the planes.
Yeah, because it was all like weirdly cavernous, but they said that's not.
I mean, like I thought it was the computers that did like, GPS and fuel control and flap control and what my altitude's at.
Yeah, I think it's just all the computers and stuff. But I don't think it has that big foily looking bit at the front.
Well, I think that was meant to be the nose cone because remember the...
Yeah, I just don't think that is like that though.
Well, it's not. I mean, you heard that other one about the monocoque design.
Yeah.
They were explicitly saying that is not how planes are designed.
It's funny. I mean, I guess they needed somewhere.
Yeah.
And
it's also like from a I'm going to do an explosion on the front of a big plane and make it go tip forward.
Yeah.
Because the front gear got blown off. That's kind of, looks good in the nose of the plane.
Yes. Although I feel like it didn't actually do that much damage.
No. I mean, like the plane is probably fucked.
Yeah, probably. Actually, one more thing before we rate, because I feel like I'm almost ready to rate this movie.
Yeah.
Is that both you and I were pretty suspicious of Carson.
Oh, yeah.
From the get-go.
Yeah, he's a suspicious looking guy.
Yeah, so he did a good job. Like, the actor did a good job, but I will say I don't know if it's just his face or if it was part of his acting, but I almost wish that he had been less suspicious so there had been more of a twist.
Yeah.
Like, if he had been more convincingly trustable, then it would have been more shocking when he is revealed as the actual baddie. I
will say, though, that more or less everybody gave off the vibe, except for Sean Bean, everybody gave off the vibes that something was afoot. Something couldn't be trusted. Yeah, well, I knew there was at least one of the flight attendants. I actually picked the wrong one. I thought it was the other girl, the newie. Yeah, yep. But yeah, no, that's... if they had been slightly less suspicious, but that's fine. Other than that, he still did a good job. I didn't actually hate it because by making everybody suspicious, it really did amp up the feeling of you don't know who you can trust. Whereas as soon as there's somebody who you feel like you can trust... Sean Bean. But you could trust him, but also he sort of had this like commanding authority where like you could trust him, but you couldn't sort of manipulate him or control him. You like he helped if he wanted to help, if he deemed it fit. If the Sean Bean deemed that he would help, he would. Yeah. So I don't know. The whole thing, the human element was very well done, I feel. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. What are your ratings? Hit me with what you've got. All right. I think I'm gonna go with a solid 8 chenille bears out of 10. That's a very solid play. I was thinking 7.9 second guns. Secret gun. Yeah. Yeah. Because, like, that's the classic, right? Like, I've got the ankle gun. Yeah. And I love that as a little trope, you know? He had a holdout. He had a holdout pistol. Little. You gotta have one. I mean, I couldn't imagine being an air marshal and just having to go around and not only have, like, a gun, which is, they're bulky and heavy, and, like, you're sitting down, so... It's uncomfortable. He had it in the back of his waistband. Yeah. And then he's got a second gun strapped to his ankle. How many hours do you travel? I also think it's quite funny the way that he had to
essentially pretend to keep her under control.
Yeah.
But let her loose enough to go do what he needed her to do with the coffin.
Yeah.
It's quite funny.
Yeah, it was very plausible deniability energy. It was a good film. I would recommend that you watch this film if you haven't seen this film.
Oh, yeah.
If you like mystery and thriller.
And good news, it didn't make me more scared of planes.
Yeah, I was worried for a second there that it would be I don't want to fly again for a while after this.
I will say that the size of that plane doesn't appeal to me. There's something about if a plane is too small or too big, it's a little scary. There is a sweet spot for planes, a Goldilocks of planes, if you will. And that's the kind of plane I like.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, like, I would like to go on one of those big planes one day, if for no other reason than I want to go to a bar and get a cocktail made.
Yeah, I'd only want to go on one, though, if I was in, like, first class.
Yeah.
Because you don't get, you don't get all of those fun big plane things if you're in regular. You just get to be squished like a sardine.
Yeah. Big sardine.
Yeah.
No, you're not wrong. Yeah, at this point, completely spoiled the film. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Go find it. What do we find this on? Was this on Disney?
This was on Disney Plus.
I'm a fan. This is a really good quality film.
And it's further cemented the fact that Jodie Foster is a great actress.
No notes.
No notes.
No notes.
Thank you for listening to our thoughts, folks.
Yeah.
And if you have a recommendation or request, a movie that you think is criminally underrated or maybe criminally overrated, and you want to hear our thoughts on it, let us know on any platform you can find us on. Patreon, Instagram, Facebook, Yahoo. I don't know.
I don't think we're on Yahoo. Since the end of season 1, we've now got all of our podcasts basically anywhere you can find your podcasts. We've got them on Pocket Casts, Apple, Google Podcasts, so that's shutting down now. And we're meant to be on YouTube, but that has never worked properly because YouTube is just a nightmare.
We are the BLTN Club, or the Better Late Than Never Club on most things. And until next time.
Till next time.
This episode of the Better Late Than Never Club is brought to you by our patrons. Alex, Christopher, Lindy, Matthew, Nathan, and Rachel.
And also our members, Aimless, Andrew, Raina, Salty Pond, and Simon.
Thank you for listening.